Hi everyone. Welcome to week 6 of our Comp 2 class. At the time of recording, I have about 10 papers left to grade in your class. My goal is to get grades back to you by Monday, if possible. And if not, there's no reason why I won't be able to get them back to you on Tuesday at the latest. So you can expect your grades for writing Project 1 fairly soon. This week, you're going to spend some time learning about research sources and determining which Columbus State Library research databases might work best for the topic that you are pursuing in writing Project 2. We're going to do a little bit of a hypothetical multi-genre essay. You're going to be doing a reading this week called Working at Wendy's, and then you're going to come up with a plan uh, as if you were writing Project 2 about this particular essay. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. As you conduct your research this week, be certain to ask for assistance when it is needed. You may contact the reference librarians at the CSCC library via phone, email, chat, or in person. Their contact information is available through the library link in our classroom. And also do not hesitate to contact me if you are confused or you're struggling to find good sources. I fully acknowledge that writing Project 2 is a little bit complicated. There are several moving parts to it. It's not always obvious how those different parts fit together or what exactly the expectations are. So if you're ever uncertain, it's better that you ask than you'll potentially get something wrong. Along with this video that I'm recording right now, I also have some videos in which I show students how I approach doing research. So the library has plenty of resources, several of which are linked in our weekly module here. But I also like to share with people, my own tips and tricks. This course is meant to teach you how to conduct academic research. So as you are researching, make sure that you are using the CSCC library. Public libraries can be perfectly fine for finding sources, but college libraries are a little bit more geared towards the types of papers that we'll be writing in this class. I would like you to at least try using the Columbus State databases, but ultimately, if you do need to use Google to locate sources as well, I am fine with that. Excuse me. Task 1, we have some readings for you to do. You should take a look at developing a research plan, finding sources, and evaluating sources. And then here is the essay that you'll be doing some work with, which is called Working at Wendy's. Here we have a tutorial on doing research through the Columbus State Library, so I'd take a look at that. Task 3, you should review the CSCC Library Research Process Guide. When you click on this, actually I'll just go ahead and open it up right now. This will take you to a really pretty thorough breakdown of the various steps of the writing process, all of which contain links to helpful information about conducting research. So although it may take you some time to look through these things, I do think it would be beneficial to you if you read through this guide to develop a better sense of conducting research. Task 4 is preparing to research your topic. Writing Project 2 requires you to find journal, magazine, or newspaper sources that discuss how a group is engaging with a social issue. For example, how a religious group deals with homelessness, how neighborhood kids deal with bullies, how a community is fighting back against crime, etc. Then you need to analyze the actions of the group you observe based on the actions of the groups you find via research. In other words, how does your selected group, the one that you are interviewing or observing, how do they measure up to other groups that are addressing the same or a similar issue? If you haven't done so already, make sure that you read these things in the textbook as well as the research guide that I just talked about. And then you're going to consider which CSCC databases, such as Academic Search Complete, might be best to use for researching your topic. You can access the library via the link in our classroom, and once there, hover over the Find Books and More tab and select Databases. From there, spend some time getting familiar with the various databases that are available to you, and I have a few prompts for you to respond to. I'd like you to write a 3-paragraph response covering 3 different databases. So you're going to have 1 paragraph for each database. In those paragraphs, I'd like you to explain why these databases are good places to start your research. Then you're going to find 1 magazine, newspaper, or journal article from one of those databases. So that's only 1 source total. You're going to be writing about 3 different databases, but you only need to locate 1 source for this particular task. Lastly, in a 2-paragraph response, I want you to name the source that you found and explain how it might be used to analyze or critique how effectively your group is addressing the social issue. In other words, how can the information in your article be used to help you judge how effective your group is at combating the topic, the social issue that you have decided to explore? Task 5 is posting to the discussion board. Your first post, which is due on Thursday, this is about working at Wendy's, so make sure that you read that before tackling the discussion board post. And what you're going to do is you're going to post your ideas on how you would research and develop Writing Project 2 if it were based on one of the topics referenced in Working at Wendy's. So Working at Wendy's touches on a variety of things such as minimum wage, teen pregnancy, working through college, working at a fast food job, although that's not necessarily a social issue, although perhaps it could be depending on how you want to look at it. In your post, be sure to discuss how you would observe the issue within a given group. You do not need to pick fast food workers as your group. So let's say you read Working at Wendy's and you decide you want to talk about minimum wage. You don't necessarily have to look at fast food workers. You could look at any sort of group that works for a minimum wage. Or if you decide to talk about teen pregnancy, you don't have to look specifically at teen pregnancy amongst fast food workers or even service industry workers. You're just choosing any group and exploring how that group is addressing a social issue. As a part of your discussion, I'd like you to identify which database or databases might be useful for this assignment and what genre pieces, such as short stories, news stories, blogs, etc., you could create which would best fit the topic. And finally, be certain to explain in your post how the reading led you to pick the topic that you did. So essentially, this is kind of a practice project. You're not actually going to be creating this project. You're not going to be writing an analytical essay about working at Wendy's. You're not going to be actually creating any of the genre pieces. This is essentially an exercise, a simulation in planning out Writing Project 2. My hope is that by identifying a topic and thinking through some of these things, you'll have an easier time breaking down the various components of Writing Project 2 when it comes time to actually start planning it out. Your reply posts are due on Saturday, and I'd like you to respond to the work of 2 of your peers by comparing and contrasting their ideas with your own and those of other students that you may have read in the discussion board. Explain how their work helped you better understand what you need to do for Writing Project 2. That is it for this week. You're going to be turning in all of the writing that you completed for Task 4, which is preparing to research. If you have any questions for me, if you want to bounce any ideas off of me, you want to talk about how you're going to approach Writing Project 2, I'd be happy to do so. Just let me know. We can correspond over email, or if you'd like to set up a time to Zoom or something like that, I am available for appointments. Have a good week.